mine.
I haven't read it yet.
You want mine?
I'll borrow it after you're done.
I'll text him quick.
Okay, I was gonna text him otherwise. Right, yeah, we can call them in. We also have. We're going to do it for
We must have played pretty well Friday night,
You
huh?
want me to pull up,
Yeah, they did.
Mayor?
They did.
Do you want
They were down.
I've got a
I was
spare.
kind of surprised.
Yeah.
Our line of scrimmage was down quite a bit.
Mayor Alex, but they've been busy, right?
They just, not like I remember them the last few years. They're young. They're pretty young. But we played well.
Yeah, it was good. I was surprised, didn't see what's Central on the schedule this year, I don't know what was going on.
This is not even.
First time in
40 years.
yeah. And I'd have to ask the state. I don't know why they did that.
He got a butt chewing last time he took Canton for schedule.
I think that's when we were still scheduling, all right?
Huh?
That's when we were still doing our own scheduling.
No, the state.
Oh,
They took Canton off the schedule, took out Canton off their schedule. The biggest rivalry probably anywhere, and you wouldn't do that, so, yeah, he kinda got chewed up with that. Have you seen Johnny Mike at all lately?
oh,
The referee, they're supposed to referee in Flanders last night. I was gonna send him a text.
You know, we reviewed games.
no, I haven't seen him.
Cause their game got snowed out, so. But they were supposed to go up last night. Get a nice thing that can work and everything, and look at this.
Yeah, we'll have the 23rd there.
I'm getting it. That's good. It's time.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Sam had tonight? No?
I think, Chris had,
Oh, volleyball down there.
yeah, somewhere, I can't.
Club Valley.
Is that where it was? I think Heidi was gone, so he was kind of man of the house.
What's that?
I think Heidi's gone
Oh,
for work or something.
oh, what's she do?
She's the human resources director at Show Place.
Oh, okay.
I know she doesn't travel a lot. There's sometimes she has some of that, like job fairs.
I don't think so.
I don't know how we turned around there. Yeah.
All right. Yeah, yeah, I don't.
No word.
Is the fire department?
Hopefully he's in a row. Hopefully that means he's in a row.
Hopefully not.
Because if they go over each one, then
I'm not gonna go. Yeah. Good.
yeah.
I guess our church Hey, sir? Yeah, that's right.
Can't they have any cross country lately?
What's that?
Can't they have any cross country lately?
Yeah, he ran at
I can't.
University of Arkansas. That was 2 weeks ago. Kelly went
They run
and
those
ran
years.
This year?
80 teams, 500 and some kids. He's in Peoria, Illinois. It's Friday. So we're trying to figure out if that's gonna, one of us can make that work or not. So,
Yeah, you do a lot of traveling now, Lee. I know she said he plays well up at Sioux Falls, and they had that around here about a month ago.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, he's doing fine.
yeah.
Kind of body's getting a little beat down, but it's not used to
Another upside.
the miles. He's running about 75, averaging about 75 miles a week right now. So, like, hard to get his legs underneath him.
Just make him stronger.
Yeah, and this coach is full of that. It's like every freshman's gonna go. They're just not used to doing it. So, a year from now, they'll know. So yeah, we'll see. I don't know, I might see if I can make it work. Might drive out there 8 hours. 8 hours to watch a 30-minute race.
They don't.
Come home.
Is there any business?
No, there's not.
That's good to hear.
Yes.
I'm gonna have to, or active on this, or have the same thumbprint as you do.
Yeah, it'd be nice if you'd have a little business you could do on the way out there.
Yeah, if you could coincide it. I'll have to think further ahead next year. Still got to still want to Oklahoma yet this year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Got unlimited mileage on your vehicle?
I don't know. I just worry about school, how you keep up with all that with school. But they have tutors on the road with them and stuff, so.
Okay.
All right. Plans.
He'll do well.
It'll be fun.
Just give him a little time to get in things.
Yeah. I was gonna say, as long as you're down, you might as well take it all in. Athens or Augusta? Yeah. Oh, I got a friend that's eventually right on the ocean. She said it's just the worst. It's worth the hurricane, she says.
Yeah, there you go. Maybe you gotta do that next year.
Nephew goes to the University of Georgia, to play Georgia.
Yeah,
He goes to all of them.
does he?
Yeah, so, he's a freshman, he's pretty excited.
Oh, I'm sure that's fun. Sure, it's a big stadium.
At that time, I said, show a picture where you're sitting, he's not kind of high, but he could still see it pretty good. I said, hold your big sign out, hey, Uncle Greg. I can't get on the jumbotron, he said.
Didn't Brock you go down to the game there last year?
Last year or 2 years ago?
Was that 2 years
I
ago?
think it was 2 years ago.
All three of the boys went?
Yeah, I think it was 2 years ago.
Then rarely got.
You know Stephen Luke, the sheriff over in that part?
I know who he is.
He goes down, they said they go down, he and his brother-in-law go down every other year for our game.
Oh, do they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never been there. They say it's a cool place to go.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to go there in Washington, University of Washington. That's right on the sound there, right on the ocean. He said it's pretty cool place to watch games.
Yeah.
Maybe next year, if we settle down, I will tell him that he's gonna have me down for a game.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
They're fast.
Yeah.
I didn't get that. We need a.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what, yeah.
Someone doesn't know that I hate Randy.
2 minutes. Hey, 2 minutes.
2 minutes out?
I'm at work, so I'm bored. I'll read a bit. I've got to read town entries. It's 500 pages.
What's that?
I'm quite halfway through.
Yeah, that's fine. Read it for you. Oh, some time. I didn't know that.
Like you said, sitting at work, but I get bored, do that. I do crossword puzzles. Maybe I feel like, read it and tell me what's in it.
Where's Chad? No idea. I got completely thrown off my.
I seem to remember him saying something.
Sad?
He's at his daughter's.
Game? Yep, probably be too.
She's a senior. Last chance to do all that
That's
stuff.
sad.
yeah, better.
We all know that senior year's a blank.
Yeah, it goes fast.
I don't know. I have a hard time.
Yeah,
So I
well,
might see how it goes with you.
actually, I was thinking more gymnastics. So I thought, oh, this might be good. Yeah. See, this is where we can double check.
Hey, Brock.
You're chasing your your dad's dog again? We already.
The dog would be good.
It's not what they do.
All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for coming tonight. Additions to the agenda?
Mayor, we have 3 changes to the agenda. We're going to add a mayoral proclamation immediately after the agenda is approved. Change order number 3 will be taken off the agenda. And on the minutes, we're adding the 9/23/19 minutes for approval. Those were listed in the, the minutes were in the agenda packet, but we're not listed on the minutes agenda.
Which change order?
It's change order number 3 for the Central Basin.
Central Basin, okay.
So
There's 2
item
of them.
H. Item H will be deleted.
Motion to approve is amended.
Second.
We have a motion by Brock, second by Jackson. All in favor?
Alright.
Opposed, same sign. We now have an agenda. So, right into the proclamation. I didn't get to practice this. Whereas the city of Lennox believes in the vital role of the First Amendment in keeping the people's government accountable, and whereas Lennox Independent plays an important role as an outside check and balance in the democratic process, and whereas the Lennox Independent provides news and resources to area residents, and whereas Kelly Beltina, Debbie Schmidt, Ann Holman, Wendy Sweeter, and Crystal Rivers have committed their careers to the First Amendment and are vitally and the vitality of the community. Now therefore be it resolved that I, Tracy West, Mayor of Lennox, South Dakota, proclaim October 15th, 2019 as Lennox Independence Day. I encourage all residents to thank the Lennox Independent this day and every day for their continued leadership and service to the residents of Lennox, South Dakota. I know I deeply appreciate your efforts and your mom before you and all the people on your staff.
Thank you. I'm gonna take a picture of myself.
We get to do a selfie.
How about I have Nate do that for us? And I really do appreciate this, especially with the national conversation about media and stuff to be supported in our hometown. It really does mean a lot, so we do appreciate it. I'm sorry my other staff members couldn't be here tonight, but they all appreciated it as well, so I just want to say thank you.
One, two, three. And 1, 2, 3.
Okay. One of these days I'm gonna comb my hair.
Thank you.
All right. Guidelines, visitors to be heard. I do know that we're coming up on the manufactured home license, going there, and I think a number of you are here for that. I think like last time, if it's okay with the council, I'll let Nate go through what's happening with the license to the trailer parks. And then, so you can get the information, and then if you have some questions of that, then we can do that if that's amenable to everybody. Is that okay?
Sounds good.
All right. But otherwise, comments may last no more than 2 minutes. Comments must comply with the following rules on order and decorum. While the city council is in session, all persons shall persevere order and decorum. Any person that refuses to abide by these rules shall be asked to leave the council chambers. Further refusal may require the mayor or presiding officer to request a removal via police department. Every member of the public, city council, and the city staff shall address the mayor or presiding officer with their comments and shall confine their comments to the questions under debate. Comments that include indecorous language or language that is in poor taste will be ruled out of order by the mayor or presiding officer. Further, indecorous language may result in the removal from chambers or other actions as deemed necessary to maintain order and decorum. Simply put, no cussing and that, such name calling and all that. All right. Next up is the minutes for September 9th, 2019, September 15th, 2019, September 16th, 2019, and 9/23/19 minutes.
Motion to approve. Second.
Jackson and Billy. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries 4-0. Next up is claims.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Chad,
Second.
second by Jackson. Discussion. Okay,
I'm sorry, McGuire Iron, this will be one payment of, like, for this year,
Yes.
and the work on this year, and that's a 5-year
It's a
contract?
5-year contract.
Okay.
good question. Any others? Okay, we'll go by roll. Chad Wolf,
Aye.
Rock,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Claims approved. Report, City Administrator.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few brief updates tonight. First, on the Countryside Edition, Lincoln County Planning Commission has placed city's request for a TIF district on the November agenda. Toby Morris, who is our representative of Doherty and Company, is planning on attending the October 21 meeting to give information and answer questions prior to the item being on the agenda. I'll be out of town that week for the ICMA conference, but if anybody from the council is able to attend the meeting with Mr. Morris, I would certainly appreciate that local perspective for the planning and zoning commission.
What time is that, do you know?
I believe it's at 6:30 on the 21st, in camp. Again, the official item on the agenda won't be until the November meeting, but we should be ready. Been corresponding with the developer of the division, subdivision. They're working on our subdivision regulations to create a preliminary plan, which is the first step in a long process creating the actual subdivision. I should add, the city has received a draft housing study report. Early data indicates that this subdivision will be a necessity in the next coming years, as population and households are expected to increase significantly in the next 5 years. We should have that housing study prepared for council approval, I believe, in November. On the Rubble site, the site is open as of October 1, every day, year-round. Wastewater treatment staff are inspecting the site each day of the week. On-call staff inspecting on the weekends and holidays. We got the new signs out there today. We are still waiting on the security system install, but really have noticed very little in terms of dumping that shouldn't be taking place. I'm only aware of one incident, so that's a really good sign. That inspection report documents all the items under the DNR permit that we're required to keep track of. On policies and procedures, the police department completed their first draft of policies and procedures. That's currently being revised for formatting. I believe it's also with the city attorney for his review. Internal control policies and procedures have also been received, and those are being reviewed and revised for formatting, adding a few items. Parks and Recreation policy and procedures were presented to the Parks Board for review at the October 6, 2019 regular meeting. I expect those to be prepared for council approval in November. Likely the same for police department and for internal controls. On the Lennox 2035 plan, we're making progress in identifying and refining the goals and action steps under the 2035 plan. With the approval of the comprehensive plan later this month, I'm going to tie the goals of Lennox 2035 to support the goals identified in that plan. It's important that the comprehensive plan be considered in these operational plans. That's really our long-term plan of success for the community and how we want to use our resources and the land surrounding the community. And we want those goals to be supported by whatever plans we have in the works. On performance management, I copied the city council on email that was sent to department heads last week of September regarding our next big item. I think this is the most complicated we've had yet. Staff will be reading the book Reinventing Government during the next 6 weeks. We'll be discussing the implications of that book for our work here at our weekly staff meeting. We're going to make sure Mitch gets a copy as well. He was interested in it.
Are there a lot of pictures?
Yes, but they're all to scale. Later this year, we'll start identifying key performance indicators for each department and start to make that gradual move into the measurement stage. This move is not going to come easy. It doesn't come easy to any organization. It's filled with a lot of unknown and uncertainties, particularly when the organization that's undertaking it hasn't relied on data measurement for success indicators. As long as we're doing our work, things are getting done, we're doing well. So I expect the process to take up to a year to refine and really start to take hold. Again, on the housing study, it's been received. I reviewed the draft with the authors and with Liz Sinning from the Housing Authority. We'll be accepting a copy of the study at the presentation in November, but just a short taste of some of what we've learned from that study. Between 2000 and 2010, Lennox added 74 residents, or 3.6% growth. Between 2010 and 2018, we added an estimated 325 residents, or approximately 15.5% growth. In the 5 years between 2019 and 2024, we're projected to gain between 301 and 473 residents. Supporting those residents will require the addition of between 112 and 128 households in 5 years, or 22 to 26 new households every year. That is very rapid growth, far more rapid than anything we've experienced in the last few decades. Again, these are projections. We don't know if they'll come true or not, but the growth is good. It will come with growing pains, I'm sure. Because the new residents have, in some cases, different perspectives, different demands for services, and we'll have to adjust as we start to hear some of that feedback.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Chad,
Second.
we'll give it to Brock, so just let Michael second, head of Billy.
Who's all on the comprehensive 2035 plan, the members?
The comprehensive plan or the Lennox 2035?
Lennox 2035.
Staff driven at this point.
And then what about the comprehensive plan?
Oh gosh, would have been all the members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Mary could probably help me out. We had Chad Conway from the school district. We had a school board representative,
Couple of school board, Sandy and
Sandy, and Mr. Ross,
Richard Schriever,
Dave Strasser.
Dave Strasser, Richard Schriever.
Boy, there's somebody.
Maybe a couple others, Jackson.
I can get you the full list. I've got it in the comprehensive plan. I think it's listed.
I want to see it.
Okay.
And all in favor for the motion to approve the report?
All in favor?
Aye.
Both same sign? Motion carries. Thank you very much, Nathan. Financial report, Denise.
Thank you. I put everything in the packets for you as far as our cash report for September and the revenue and expenditure report. I also gave like a little summary of what was kind of going on with both of those reports. Did you have any questions?
Yes.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Chad Wolf, Billy, all in favor?
Aye.
Both same sign? Public Works report, Jeremy.
Thank you, Mayor. Street improvements. Crack sealing, I feel, has been going well. We're approximately 25 to 30 blocks been crack sealed so far. And those may be unfamiliar with that, with keeping, some of our roads obviously are at the end of their life. Some of them not so much, that we're crack sealing. There's a bigger plan in place as far as street maintenance, but keeping the water no matter what, even on some of the roads of poorer condition, keeping that, or trying to keep as much water between the asphalt, if you will, and the clay will help in springtime. Asphalt patching, well over 100 tons so far. There is some more to come. We're gonna reserve a week, as long as the weather holds out and at least the longer, short-term forecast. We have some areas and we identified a list. I've talked to some council members, well, some areas as well as Nate, that will be taken care of if you're interested in those areas that we're gonna wrap up before winter. Let me know or ask Nate and make sure they're on our list. With the forecast last week, we did some snow preparation. As part of that, our road maintainer, grader, went in for its maintenance after its summer schedule here. So that should be, I think they've had it for a week now, and hoping that's back any time now, and we're gonna be addressing the gravel one time here before winter hits. Sewer collection and the wastewater plant, in front of you, I've spoken with Nate, and council, sorry to get in front of you late, but this is we got a inspection the first time ever. We haven't had a biosolids permit for all that long. I've been a part of the process the entire time. As far as generating that permit and compliance with it. The inspection went very good. Nate was there also. One issue, and it's, Nate knew about it right away, even before. Because it was new, I'll take it myself, I own it during the stakes. The annual report is due by February 19th of each year, and I got it in March 4th after I was notified I didn't get it in. So the corrective actions necessary, turn it in by February 19th next year, and we're gonna be okay, so.
Jeremy, prior to this, with those, was there any other plan in place with this particular issue before you got here, or is that something that just?
As far as a permit goes, no. I've had to submit, we have that molly sludge up there,
Yeah.
which is a concern to all of us. It's definitely a thorn in our side. But I had to submit a plan on how we plan on dealing with that, and that had to be approved by the DNR, and it has been, and that's part of this.
Sure.
And so if we have not been adhering to that, there would be mention of that within this. So feel free to read through it, call me with questions on it, but it was a good inspection, and besides we've done one corrective action, we're all good as far as that goes. Water tower update, you may have noticed the north tower is nearing completion. We're gonna start filling it tomorrow, I believe. The work inside and out, I am told, has been completed. Final inspection has not been done, or a report has not been generated yet. We're gonna start filling that in hopes that they started moving equipment down to the south side. They're gonna get a little aggressive before this weather comes. I have questioned them, if you get this, they're gonna paint the outside and address the inside next year. And we have to drain the tower. My first question on that is, why do we have to drain the tower if you're not gonna work on the inside? Condensation is the issue, to make sure that paint adheres to it. And I said, fair enough. The south tower is easy to drain, as far as, and isolate. So hopefully they can get that done. We've got probably 3 days of filling on the north tower on how we do it. I'll confirm with Lewis and Clark on how quickly we can do that, and we're gonna have at least 48 hours of back test before we get that tower back online, so. With that, I have nothing more.
Motion approved.
Brock,
Second.
Chad, Wolf, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign? Thank you, Jeremy. Engineers report, Mitch?
Thanks, Mayor, Community Council. Report in the packet tonight. I brought with me tonight Dexter Smart from our office. He's been the inspector out on the project, so I thought if there's any questions pertaining to the schedule, we can help answer them tonight, but just wanted to kind of get you a little familiar with him. Starting with the report, we have Central Basin Project Phase 2 first on the report, I guess. Right now, you go out there, the Phase 1 is prepped and ready for asphalt, or close ready for asphalt to come in on Thursday to pave that stretch. So hopefully we'll see that. They have to do 2 lifts basically, so they'll do the first lift on Thursday, probably the second lift on Friday, depending on how things go Thursday, and depending on the weather, of course. That's phase 1. And then on phase 2, they've got the curb slipped up to Cedar Street, and they're gonna work on starting to slip the curb from Cedar Street to Main Street, starting next week. They need to get, the asphalt guys kind of need to get done and out of there, so the curb and gutter guys can come in and have the site to work on that stretch. They'll also slip the curb on Cedar Street from 3rd to 4th as well. And then once all the curb work is done, they'll start mobilizing in that asphalt crew again to pave that stretch. They also have driveways that they've been working on and some of the sidewalks through the driveways, so they're really focused on making, on the street, getting it paved and getting the curb and gutter in and getting the driveways done. Once they get all that done, they're gonna start focusing on the sidewalks. We've talked in past meetings with phase 4, we've suspended that into next year. We've also suspended Juniper Street from, would be 4th to 3rd into next year as well. We had a meeting with the contractor. I think we had that meeting since before our last council meeting, I guess, that I was here at, but essentially the contractor wasn't willing to stand behind temporary asphalt or anything of that nature, so with the pending weather and whatnot, we just felt it was best to suspend the project in the next year so we didn't have people going on a gravel road through the winter. So that's kind of what transpired since our last report, I guess. On the agenda, and we'll get to it later, we do have a change order for that suspension. We want to get that documented so that we agree to the cost that the suspension is, which is $0, and the time that they're gonna have next year. Means that the project is suspended, we basically have to take that time that they have still this year and basically are pushing it into next year. Okay, but we can talk a little bit more about that with the change order when we get to it. Other than that, we're just focused on working with the contractor to make sure they're getting here and getting their work done whenever they can. You know, it's getting cold out there, cooler out there, and nature getting a little, the days are getting shorter, so we're trying to just push them to make sure they're getting things done out there. Any questions on that project?
At what temperature are they not going to pour asphalt?
40 degrees is usually kind of is a threshold, but it's also, we have lay down temperatures that we have to meet. But we usually try to stick to 40 degrees in rising, okay? You can go down to 35 degrees in rising, I believe, on the bottom lift. But once you do the top lift, we like to see it be 40 degrees in rising. Okay. Any questions?
So that plan then moving forward next year, I mean, this is the way this always works. So when they started phase 1 and phase 2 this year, they gave us a date. I mean, even so, as far as saying, and this deals with change order number 3, but a bypass along Elm Street and 5th. I mean, they're like 2.5 months off of that estimate,
Yeah.
which to me, I think is ridiculous.
The original schedule.
And I can see, okay, a couple weeks here, 3 weeks, even maybe a month, but to be that far off?
Right.
And my next question as just a taxpayer is, do we pay some stuff hourly
With them.
with anything that we do, so where when we extend the length
Right.
of what's being done, like, it's not the taxpayer's fault that it's taking forever.
No.
It's a he said, finger pointing nightmare, probably. But I just don't want the taxpayer to have to pay extra money because A, takes too long, B, you're hitting 8,000 different locates. You know, that's not our fault.
Right.
But can you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, you don't pay the contractor or anything hourly, but you pay us hourly.
Sure.
You know, that's really where that probably would come into play. Our fees are, so anytime the contract gets extended, there's more fees from our office. And, you know, the way the contractor's set up is he has liquidated damages to try to recoup those costs.
Right, okay.
So, in the event that they're late beyond that date, that's what that is there for, to help recoup some of
Sure.
those items.
Okay,
But we have tried to back off on our hours out here a little bit, just anticipating that, so we don't burn up a bunch of hours that we know we're gonna need for next year, so we have been trying to watch that too.
so is there a timeline for the next phase now when they're gonna finish 3rd and Juniper next year? Like, you, I mean, I understand weather, who knows? But do we have a span where you're gonna try to reach this?
Well, we haven't asked for that schedule, but we will be.
Okay.
For how long I think it'll take them next year. I'm sure what we'll get is a schedule that's gonna show them being complete in the 47 days that they're allowed next year. Whether they can beat that or not is completely up to them.
Sure.
You know, as we've seen with this contractor hasn't been a hold really any schedule he's given us. And there's been issues, you know, beyond our control a little bit with some of the private utilities, some of the weather. But there's definitely a lot of stuff that is in their control. And I just have, we can never know exactly whether they're gonna be able to meet that anyway. But we'll be asking for that schedule for them so we have it, so at least we can hold them to something, you know, when they show up next year.
Because so the public knows.
Yeah.
Next year's project, Central Basin 3, is gonna be bid out,
Yep.
right? Which could or may not involve the company we use now.
Right.
And so and I understand there's gonna be some, it's almost like you wanna get them done and out if it's somebody else. Because here's what I don't wanna have happen. I don't want this thing, it's gonna take 47 days. They do it in 90. And now all of a sudden we start Central Basin 3 in the end of July and we run into this problem on the end of, which you don't have a whole lot of control of, but.
Yeah, while we lay this out, we're gonna be talking to contractors about that. We're probably gonna be coming back to you folks and just having a conversation of, you know, this is how much we think they can get done in a year. And in most contracts, most of these type of jobs, you can get $3 million worth of work done in the summer. You know, this year, this contractor's probably gonna get $2 million done. So why that is, you know, why that's happening, you know, if they're busy on other jobs, I don't know. But normally we can get about that much work done in the summer. That's what we usually kind of go by. The phase 3 project's probably $2 to $2.5 million, I'd say. So we should be able to do that within the normal construction season, but we are gonna be pinched if we gotta wait for this contractor to get done. We are looking at some options if there's any way to be able to let the next year's contractor be able to start while the other contract's still going on. The thing I worry about there is just then, where do people park, you know, and how do people, so we're not impacting that so much, you know, that's usually the biggest issue that we run
So it's
into.
not a problem between the contractors.
I never like having 2 contractors in one site. That gets to be a sticky situation. Ideally, this contractor would be done before the next contractor starts. But if we have this concern about making sure we can get all of phase 3 done next year, we might have to look at how we stage that a little bit.
What I'd like us to look at is what we learned from this year. And you know, once again, going past the deadline, what have we learned and what can we apply? That's to me the question is, because there's certainly a lot of things we should have learned this year. Again, just kind of echoing what Brock had said, you know, these extended ones where they go past the deadlines are not good for anybody. When I walk out on, talk to the property owners, they're wondering if they got a lot of questions.
Right.
Because, and we need to start having some answers about how this occurs and what we can do to make it so it doesn't happen again. That's my concern.
How's the final product?
Project's been good. The utilities, we've had some things we've had to come back and repair. They've been good about coming back and repairing them when they need to. Utility-wise, we've been happy with everything. I think Jeremy's been happy with everything that he's seen going in. Yeah, we haven't really had any issues there.
So now next year when they come back, are we gonna be charged mobilization fees again?
No. So the change order that we have on the agenda suspends the project with no additional cost. So no, we don't anticipate it. They're gonna hold their bid items into next year. Any other questions?
No, not this time. Anybody else wish to approve?
Do you want anything else?
He's
You
got-
got-
Phase 3 we talked a little bit about, but we're getting our plans ready for early November for the city review. We actually sat down with them a few weeks ago and just ironed out some small details and whatnot. So we're basically updating the plans based off of that. But once we have those ready, we'll be sending them to the city, we'll be sending them to DNR to review. Once we have the design and the construction documents done, we'll start digging in a little bit more how much time we think this is gonna take and get some other contractors maybe to look at it, just to get our arms around that. And then we'll be having those conversations with staff and whatnot here, so. Other than that, that's all I have for phase 3. The Highway 44 rec trail project, the contractor did come back and fill in some of those low areas. So I know Dexter was working on shooting some of that area down by the groomers down there, the dog groomers, making sure that's draining. We feel like we still got a little bit of a low spot there. So we're working on that right now. On the asphalt repair project, we have some change orders for that tonight too as well. The project's substantially complete. We've sent them a punch list of items that need to be repaired. We know we got 2 kind of glaring issues out there. One is on 5th Street, and that asphalt's unraveled a little bit on that top lift. So we're working with the contractor to figure out how to repair that. We do feel that it's probably under the asphalt, it's subgrade. When we excavated that area, the subgrade looked pretty good, and the contractor got it firm. We feel we have an issue with right at the Good Sam driveway. There's water that sits right there, and there's just no where to take that water. There's no elevation to work with. So we're looking into trying to cut a ditch into their yard to get that water off, because we feel that water's saturating the grade underneath it too, and causing this little bit of unraveling on top. So we're trying to work through that issue with the contractor right now.
So there's storm sewer along 17
There is, but we don't know it's deep enough to serve that
for
area.
the elevation.
Yeah, that's what we're working on surveying. Ideally, if that's deep enough, we would run a storm sewer up there to catch it. And I think we've been talking to Good Sam about possibly doing something there, but
And that storm sewer runs south, right?
it runs south, yes.
So that's nothing that we're gonna be having to pay for, it's the contractor is gonna take care of it.
The repair on the asphalt, yes. If it requires storm sewer being extended up there or a curb and gutter, then that would be something that the contractor wouldn't be responsible for. That would be a separate project or something that would happen.
And that's going to go into the street, or is it gonna go into the?
We don't know the answer to that yet until we know the depth of that storm sewer. I have a feeling it's gonna be too shallow to take a storm sewer there, so then we might have to figure out a way to just get it, to cut a ditch to get it off the road. But that would require working with Good Sam, because we basically drained it into their project. Okay. The other issue that you might notice on that project is on Boynton Avenue. If it rains, I don't know if you notice how it holds water there in front of the apartments. They've got to grind that down because they got a little high with that asphalt. That's what's causing it to back up. So Dexter's been working with them to get out there and make that repair too in that direction. So they'll end up milling that off and then paving it again, so it's a little bit lower this time. Okay. Let's see. I don't have anything new to report on Countryside. I've just been expecting to see a preliminary plan review at some point from the developer. On the force account side, we have been working on updating subdivision regulations and design standards to go with those as well. And then on the force account is the 2018 asphalt repair inspection, so all the time that we've been spending on that project has been going to the force account. And we have been working on some GIS updates. Questions? Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right, thank you.
Move to approve?
Brock? Chadwell, second. All in favor? Both same sign? Thank you, Mitch.
Yep.
Old business. Manufactured home park license.
There I have one of the owners, Mr. Fred Preeter here, and the other owner, Mr. Patrick Carpenter. I'm going to get him on the phone
Okay.
for his request. Mr. Carpenter?
Yes,
Yes, I've got you on with the Lennox City Council.
all right.
Welcome.
So Mayor, after our last meeting, I received correspondence from Mr. Carpenter about the steps that they've been taking at Park Place Mobile Home Park over on Park Drive. I did email that to all the members of the City Council for their review. Since that time, I've also received 2 demolition permits and issued 2 demolition permits for trailers for homes in that park. I think the owners would like an opportunity to speak to some of what they've been doing and discuss any concerns with council.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, I just want to give you a little background information on what we have been doing, what has been in the works. And, you know, we would have been here with the last council meeting had I known there was a vote to revoke the permit. We were keeping Nate informed on where we were at, and I didn't realize that there was going to be a vote by the council, so I apologize for that. When we first bought the park, you guys might remember Mr. Justin McNeil that was around town, and he was complete trouble. We were able to get him out of there.
Sorry to interrupt. What year did you buy the park?
It would have been in the spring of 2011. And at that time, they had like a central garbage dump at the park. It was in really bad shape. And so for the first couple of years, we were able to get that cleared up, and everything was progressing fairly well until, basically until Avery Chambers died and turned over 3 trailers to his son. His son had about 6 months before the wheels kind of came off in his life. And I started last fall, about a year ago this month, chasing the kid down, trying to evict him from the park. And we did not finally get the summons served on him until June of this year. And it coincided with, and this is kind of a little bit of a crazy story, but it coincided with a new sheriff taking over and a new lieutenant being in charge of evictions, who took the stance that the sheriff could not evict someone from their own trailer, that all they could do would be oversee the trailer being moved out of the park. And that just didn't really make a whole lot of sense. And so in the process, the state's attorney had an opening for the attorney that advised the sheriff's department. So there was really no place for us to go. We had 3 hearings with the judge, and finally that state's attorney's position was filled, and we had a meeting with them, and they finally convinced the sheriff that they needed to evict Michael Chambers. And that occurred first weekend in September. The next week we had a sheriff's sale already scheduled. We were able to gain control basically of the trailers, buy those trailers. And so that's why the demolition permit is. When we initially got your letter about cleaning up garbage, that type of stuff, I hired a crew to go and remove that garbage. Michael Chambers called the police department and wanted to file a complaint because my guys were stealing his property. So the police department actually stopped us from removing the garbage. And so we've really had our hands tied until the second week in September. And so state law says that anything that is valued less than $100 needs to be kept for 10 days. Anything over $100, we have to store that for 30 days. So it wasn't like we could jump on it right away when we got control of everything, because we did have to show a little stewardship of that stuff. But since then, it's all cleaned out. The list outside of tearing down those 2 trailers, the list that Nate has provided, all of that has been taken care of. Hopefully, everybody keeps their life together, and we can go years and years and years without this ever happening again in the park. And so I would just ask the council to reconsider the denial of the permit tonight. There are some really good families in that trailer park. Listening to the need of housing, it doesn't make any sense to take away 15 units that are somewhat desperate in this community. And so we just ask you to please reconsider this. Are there any questions?
You're taking care of all the maintenance and everything over there, the weeds and everything?
The tenants are responsible for their lots, and so we will give them notice if things get long. But it is provided that, yeah, we don't have people threatening. I have a guy over there to mow on a weekly basis.
Do you have a park manager on site, Fred?
The permit requires that we have somebody that the city can call if there's issues, I think is the reason why there's a number.
Is
So-
that you or is that somebody?
I am
site?
fine, but we have to have a resident there, so Rhonda is my contact. That kind of varies from year to year depending on whose availability.
Okay.
And so, but Nate has my number, my contact information. I think going forward, hopefully he won't hesitate to let me know if there's an issue. I have a good relationship with the police chief, and so I think going forward, he's gonna make sure he lets me know whenever there's a call out to the park, and so that'll be a big improvement.
I guess a follow-up to that, like with your park manager, or do you, I don't know what their responsibilities are, so I'm kind of asking a rhetorical question. Do you expect that park manager to kind of do weekly walkthroughs, report back to you with any problems, or do you just wait until you get a notice to the
Well,
park manager? Or?
So, I mean, yeah, I would say that if there's an issue, I'll get a phone call from 2 or 3 tenants. And so Michael Chambers has been an issue forever. We just can't do anything about it with the way the system is. And so I have to, I can't call Guido and lock the doors and kick him out. And
I was
so-
thinking more like going forward.
Yeah, and so I knew, since last fall this time that Michael was having issues. And so he, had his 3 trailers. We had an elderly lady there, Jean Anderson, that ended up in the hospice. And while my process server was chasing Michael around, he decided to start squatting in that trailer, unbeknownst to anybody. And so he ended up basically trashing the 4th trailer in the park. And so I've been working hard, but I'm not gonna take that route where, I strong arm somebody out of the house and that type of thing. And so I will do what I can as I can.
Okay, you say you have possession of all of those now? Yes or no?
Yes.
When is the one going to be painted?
Which one?
The one that's got the graffiti on it?
It's gonna be destroyed.
Destroyed, okay.
Yep.
I guess, and I wasn't here 2 weeks ago, and I know there's protocols that really haven't been, to the city zone fall, and I've been on for just over 3 years. And we've never really, we've just kind of okayed the permit as far, from what I can see in minutes. Or if the permit's late, we've never really done anything. If there are issues over there, we just kind of let things go without any kind of, and alls I want, just as a, is I want a pretty town, like just an aesthetically pleasing town, and just to have upkeep over there, I don't think is, again, my personal opinion, I can't speak for the rest of the council, is just to keep it as neat as you can keep it. And the fact that we haven't really followed through on any of that stuff, and I know this is kind of a change, where look, we need to start holding accountability to, to a number of people, and including ordinances that are quite gray, ordinances aren't complete, and it's a work in progress, and it's not perfect. And the last thing we want to do is shut the door But until we can get people, because this is all really great information. I know that after and again, I wasn't at the last meeting, but the Tuesday after the last meeting, then I saw finally some correspondence. And which is good. And so if we keep the line of communication open, then things can be better. If you're on them about, you know what, you've got somebody there to keep the eye on the weeds, keep the eye on, great, that's great. So I appreciate you coming in and visiting. And
For me, health, safety, and welfare are the biggest things that go on. We want homes for our residents, but we want those homes to be secure homes, good homes, ones that don't put the residents at risk. Nate, am I wrong, but we're going to start upping some of our talks and our walkthroughs going through with this now to improve communication. But, so that is gonna be the big point that I look at is do they meet the codes, the people that live in those homes, live in homes that house them, that provide the basic necessities that are needed there. Health, safety, and welfare is when they're living in those homes and secure. And for me, that's gonna be a big part. Part of it too is the amenities around it and stuff do play an important role. I'll give you a call too, because I got you.
Mr. Carpenter?
So I guess what I would encourage the council to do, because I agree with that, but there are some residents in town that need to be educated on resources. Because these folks might not have the financial ability to reside their trailer, and they need to know where they can go to be able to get the help to reside this trailer. And so what we own is just the dirt. We don't own the trailers. These are the residents' homes. We had one individual this summer that was one of the trailers that was on the list. Her partner had a battle with cancer. Her partner passed away. And all of this coincided with the deadline and that type of thing. And it's just hard to artificially put days on somebody in that situation and say you have to have all of this done to your trailer by the end of August. It just practically doesn't work. And so she has had help step up. She's got her trailer all sided. Everything's looking good. She's met everything Nate put on the list. And so that's good, but she couldn't do it by herself. And so she needed resources out there. And not just in our park, but around the city of Lennox, there's gonna be people in that situation. And so if you can go into these types of things with a little bit of grace and education for the people that are affected, it would help out quite a bit.
so if you've got like an open space there, like how does the process work for someone to move a trailer on there? I mean, is there some type of, I'm assuming there's some type of application process?
Yeah, so I've only been through this once. And so the city has a form for this. And so the owner of the trailer has to sign off on it. I have to sign off on it. And then Nate, or I think would be the one that would sign off on it also. And so there's criteria in city ordinance. The trailer has to be newer than 78. It's got to have a pitched roof. You know, this, and this. And so, yeah.
If someone moves out of it, so they own the trailer, and so if they move, do they just take the trailer and move it with them? Or does the trailer, like?
Yeah, I don't want it, but yeah, so.
I'm just asking because I don't know.
I've never had that happen.
Okay.
And so,
Let me stand up, please. I'm Darrell Clark. I'm co-owner in the business of owning 2 trailers myself in the court, and I have been helping clean it up lately because my family lives there. And I've inherited another trailer house. And in your stance there, when you sell a home, it's already under a grandfather clause there, so it ain't being moved, so it gets to stay in its spot as it is in its position. It has to be brought up to a good standard. But to bring it up to a standard like to be out in Wayne's Court, Lemon Creek.
Sure, yep.
now you're asking these people to fork out $10,000 to take this whole trailer house, which that's very unreasonable in the stance for the trailer court's age and stuff. But there's no reason they can't keep these old trailers in a good standing look for the way they were made.
Sure.
And we have been doing that. Granted, we've had trouble in the trailer court, which I've been gone for 4 months, not realizing what this kid was doing to the trailer court, because my 2 kids live there, and I have a couple other families that are moving in. And I've jumped in and tried to help. I'm not gonna be a manager, but I'm a citizen helper, because I have an investment in homes in the court itself. So I'm backing Fred with my contractor's license to try to help out, get the trailer court cleaned up. And I have talked with my kids and all the ones that live there now. They all own their own trailers. And we have talked to everybody as a committee that we were gonna look at this as we're our neighborhood watch group. Do you guys wanna live like this? Do you wanna have these people around here like this? No, we do not. So let's not let it happen again. Let's clean our court up and hope we can get some better ones in. Or just live as we are. That's how we're looking at it.
Fantastic. So it's just like a home, like a house?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and you know, I started in trailer house, and I live over on Fifth and Cherry. And I've run my business for 32 years. My kids wanted homes, they wanted out of the house early, we couldn't afford a home. But we bought these trailer houses, moved them into them, got them going. You know, a trailer house was actually set up to get you moved to a home. It brought you from an apartment to a trailer house to an actual homeowner, is how it was supposed to be designed. And somewhere in the system, it got messed up. Well, we have apartment units that are just like trailer courts. There's bad and there's good. So we don't need to hear, oh, this is the bad one. You know, let's talk to the people, who owns this, who's that, make sure we're talking to the right people when we're doing stuff. And this one fell out really bad on that, on my situation of hearing who was getting permitted, who was getting paperwork. He wasn't even getting paperwork, they were giving it to this kid that was acting like he was the manager.
Sure.
His dad was the same way before him. He was the manager, but he wasn't. But everybody, he talked his word around that he was, and that's how it went. And it's like, we're trying to help Fred out and his partner to make this a better trailer court for the city and us.
Great.
Mayor, I would add, if that's a meeting that's going to happen on a regular basis, I'd be happy to attend and provide
We appreciate it.
info and input from
Yeah,
the city
'cause
side that we can do
we're,
it all.
you know, I got a young family, 2 kids. They don't need to see this. They're afraid to let their kids, now their kids run over the whole trailer court right now. Like, oh yeah, we can go everywhere now. Yeah, you can go everywhere. You're safe. You know, it's like, oh, we can run to the park and come back to our house, you know. And my kids have the biggest yard. And it's like a park for the trailer court, for the kids that are there. And they're like a little hub. And we didn't really like what was going on, but we've tried to fix it. So, give us some time and let us do some work on it, and I think we'll make a better court for you guys.
Has, anybody contacted the county to see if they have any kind of assistance to help some of these people?
Well, that's what we're starting to look on, because we never had owners that were really interested in that.
The biggest source of assistance is probably gonna be the USDA.
Yeah, see,
504
I'm all
program.
in on helping people. I give charity all the time. And I'm there to help people get into them and get going and get started. Get out of debt, and make something of yourself. And the ones that, well, there was ones there we couldn't work with. I tried to work with the kid. And I finally gave up on him myself. And then I was gone for 4 months, West River, doing a job. So
Okay,
everything
it sounds
went
to me,
right.
sorry, it sounds to me like the key to this is gonna be the communication going forward.
There, Claire.
And so Nate, you kinda got, insight of who you can talk to, do you feel good about?
Oh,
it?
yeah, absolutely. In fact, when I learned about the evictions that were taking place in September, Mr. Carson was actually out here from Wyoming. So we got to sit down and talk for, probably a good 10, 15 minutes and hear what was going on. I know it's been a long haul. for both Mr. Frieder and Mr. Carpenter, and likely all the residents as well, in dealing with a number of issues out there that are hard to get a handle on once they take hold. But I do feel that they're moving in the right direction. And I think with improved communication, one of the things that we're talking about in revising that Chapter 12 ordinance is stepping that timeline up, but the review happens far further in advance, gives the owners more time to make any changes that may be necessary. So,
I know you weren't here last time, Fred, I think, just to be clear, but, is he still on the phone? Did we lose him?
yeah.
Is that,
Mr. Carpenter, are you still on?
I'm here, but
Okay.
I'm having a real difficult time hearing what's being said. You all sound like Charlie Brown's teacher. I'm not getting much on this end.
I think one of the discussions that took place on the non-renewal of the license, I know you weren't here, was, the timeline, which has just been discussed. And then we did a 90-day extension from that timeline. And we were at that 90-day extension and things appeared that they still weren't done. That was the reason for, just to clarify
Okay.
why, you were not here to hear that, but that was kind of the, I'm not putting words in your guys' mouth, correct?
And the fact
Just
is,
so
That's
you
kind of
guys
what
know.
I figured, because that deadline
Right.
and we gave
was there.
another,
So,
what's the one up north here? The trailer park, we gave them the 90 also, and they had to come into,
They got a full.
they got a full,
Okay.
gotcha. And so we didn't wanna be like, well, if we don't do it or we do it, I wanna be the same, I mean, I wanna be stick to the same consistency and not set like.
and I understand that completely. I just wanted you all to have the full picture.
Sure.
Because it isn't like we've been sitting on our hands and just ignoring. I've been chasing this kid forever, and we finally got him, so.
Well, thanks for coming.
Yes, what I'm hearing is very encouraging. Thank you, Daryl, for coming in and talking.
Appreciate it.
Good to hear from you. It is, my daddy used to be a cop, used to say every neighborhood gets what they will put up with. And it sounds like you guys are coming together and saying we want a place where our families can be. And that's exactly what we'd like to see too.
So as of right now, there is no license based on the previous vote, correct?
As of right now, there is no license in effect. We're not really, given the situation, we haven't pursued any penalty or anything for
Right.
that. We also wanted to make sure that if folks needed to move out, we wanted to give them plenty of time to make arrangements. So we don't have by this date, you must have all property vacated. If the council wishes to reconsider that decision, they may do so. The motion to reconsider has to be from someone who made the vote to deny the license last time, though. That was part of the issue of tabling it last time. Since we had a motion on the table, we had to take a vote instead of table. So rules of procedure do allow somebody who made a motion or voted on a motion to deny, to bring up a new motion to reconsider that denial, which would effectively reverse the license denial and reinstate.
Then we would have to go take another vote to reinstate.
You would, and you can either do that at this meeting, or if you feel it would be best to have that as a full agenda item, we could do it at the next meeting or later.
Irving, it was Sam and Chad, wasn't it?
What's that?
That made the vote, that made the motion second?
Anybody who either made the motion a second or voted for
Can revisit it.
can make a motion to reconsider. So since Mr. Ross is not here, he cannot make a motion to reconsider, but he can vote on the motion to reconsider.
So the other three can make the motion, one of the other three can make the motion.
Correct.
So if we make a motion to revisit, if that's what somebody would choose to do, then we can set it for an agenda item for the next meeting.
That's enough.
Is that what you were saying?
Or we can do
You
it
can
tonight.
take option, you can take action tonight, or if you want to do it at a later meeting, we can do it that way.
I will move to reconsider.
Motion by Billy,
Second.
second by Jackson. All in favor?
All right.
Motion carries. So then we have reconsideration on the table right now for the council.
Do you want to reconsider tonight, or do you want these two to be involved in this discussion?
I think given the initial vote included those numbers, I think it would be wise to include them. That's obviously up to the council whether they do that or not. Again, if we're going to follow full discourse and transparency, I think having it as an agenda item, as an action item would be helpful. This is listed as an action item tonight, so again, you can take action tonight. But if you wish to do that in a more formal agenda action item, we can do that.
Personally, I think everything we heard here tonight is good. I wish those two would be here to hear it, and I think, to be fair to them, I think we should give them this information to let them reconsider their votes as well. Would I be ready to act on it tonight? Yes, but to Nate's point, I think the right way to do it is put it as an agenda item for the next. So I would make that motion.
Well, before you guys decide, I live in the trailer court, 20, lived there for 5 years, married, have 2 kids.
What's your name?
William Clark. My wife's Erica Clark, 2 boys, William Jr. and Philip Clark. We lived in the court, have upkeep our property and help other tenants maintain their properties. I mow extra lots just to help keep the court clean. And as tenants, we really didn't hear about the shutdown until probably a month ago. And since then, quite a few of us tenants have come together to help keep our homes. I mean, there's children that go to school here, we all live, this is our home. Just like you have a house, this is our home. So I just hope that you guys would consider letting us have our home. And I'll do anything in my power to maintain that it's to your upkeep. That's all I'd like to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I just want to point out the letter that I just noticed this, now it makes sense why I got a question about it earlier. The letter that's on the board docs website is actually the letter that was received from Mr. Carpenter back in June. The letter I'm referring to is the letter that was received after the last meeting, so my apologies for that.
Okay.
So now all correspondence are gonna go to the actual owners of the park
Yeah,
and not,
we'd love to see that.
We'd like to know.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's why I correspond with that at this point, is usually Mr. Krieger, but Mr. Carpenter by email as well.
okay.
We're good now.
I have a few things to say. I've lived there going on, I don't know, 30 or 40 years.
Ma'am, could
In
you
the
just,
same-
could you say your name?
Ann Plimpton. I have lived there that long. It's been my home. I have no problems with any neighbors. They did take that old junk hole next to me out, which was my entertainment for a while. I have now given Darrell Clark my mobile home. I have moved into an apartment, but please consider these people that live there. It's their homes. Some people can't live in a brand new home. Some of us had to live in mobile homes. So consider what you've heard from us. Thank you.
Thanks, Ann.
All
So
right.
your motion basically is the table, right?
My motion is, yes, to table it, to get everybody here for the next meeting, make it an agenda item.
Second.
I'm not proposing we start fining or anything like that now that we have more information. It's just kind of status quo. Is that fair to say, Fred?
We have a motion and a second to table. Now, next meeting, when it can be put on the agenda appropriately. We have the other 2 council members here. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Will be officially on the agenda tomorrow, or
Yeah, that'll be on the 28th, October 28th is the next meeting.
Yep.
Mr. Krieger, anything, or Mr. Carpenter, anything additional?
Hey, Darrell.
Well, you know, I haven't heard a thing that has been said.
I apologize.
was there a motion? Can you just go in real quick?
Yeah, I'll summarize very quickly. We had a motion, a second, and a vote to reconsider the vote from the last meeting. And then a motion to bring this up for a vote on reinstating the license at the meeting on October 28th at 7 o'clock.
That's good.
Okay, and we can certainly talk more offline tomorrow if you want, and we can bring you up to speed on it.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Moving on.
Oh, yeah, it's anybody's guess whether you have reception in this room or not, so.
It is.
Yeah.
Goes in and out. Okay, moving on to new business, ordinance 600 requiring financial controls for nonprofit expenditures. This would be, in my estimation, is our first reading, is that correct?
That's correct, this is the first reading. Mayor and council, many do express an interest in going above and beyond what is required under the law as it comes to municipal grants of dollars to nonprofit organizations. You'll recall this matter arose following the last two independent audits. It's a finding on compliance was reported. Those audits refer to SDCL 9-12-11, which requires the city to obtain audits from organizations which promote the city. In our case, that limits the audits to the Lennox Commercial Club, Lennox Area Development Corporation. The city grants funds to other nonprofit organizations such as Transit, the fire department, and among others. Nonprofit best practices dictate that regular financial audits be performed as an important financial practice. These audits act as a safeguard for organizations' funds and are an opportunity to improve policies and procedures to better protect organizational dollars. Municipal boards, such as city councils, and their employees, such as the finance officer and city administrator, hold a fiduciary duty to protect the government's expenditures and can even be found personally liable for the misappropriation of funds. Given that duty, it's in the best interest of the community to require any external expenditures be accompanied by independent audit or, if acceptable, regularly approved financial statements. That is the same as what is allowed by the state code. So our recommendation is to approve the first reading of ordinance 600.
The only thing that I would like to see is, one thing's before, and this might not be possible, before our second reading, is just to have the players that are involved with this have a chance to meet with the council to discuss any questions or concerns they have. And I'd like that to probably happen. And the other one is to make sure that we have a clear understanding of all the players involved. And so who all this would affect, just clear up among others and have the council know and people know which entities we're specifically talking about. I think there was like 5 or 6, but I'd like us all to know which those entities are by name and that who they are, and then see what they have to say about this too. Make sense?
I've asked Denise to pull a list of the nonprofits to whom we've granted funds over the last 18 months. We can have that list available.
Okay.
The verbiage mentions board-approved financial statements. I know there might be churches or some other organizations like that that are nonprofit. I guess what you'd call an auditing committee, they might find 3 or 4 members throughout the community to sit down and review their books.
Internal audit.
That will suffice in this case, correct? Just saying board approved. They may not have a board.
I think we could accept that as a board accepted or board approved financial statement. We can't accept it as a finalized independent audit.
Right.
It's coming from inside the organization.
Right. As an example,
I
I know we've given money to After Prom before, so
Right.
if they don't really necessarily have a board per se, but if After Prom came in and had 3 or 4 of their members.
There are ways around that
Okay.
as well. I mean, if somebody, a small, in that case, tiny group of people needs somebody to act as a fiscal sponsor, I'm sure we could find somebody to step up and act as that.
And in that example, we're not talking, I mean,
$100.
yeah.
Are those groups nonprofit?
Churches are.
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Is there anything to be said about a dollar figure?
That certainly is an option.
Denise, do you have thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was thinking that's probably so that you're not pulling.
So if someone's gonna ask for
$50
$500,
you know.
we're gonna ask for, before we do that, you got an independent audit to get $500? I mean, whether that, I don't know what that
Do you know
number
that's
is.
gonna cost more?
Is it 10 grand? Is it 20 grand? I don't know.
It's gonna be substantially more than that.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, our audit is approximately $13,000, and believe it or not, we're a small organization.
right.
You know, our audit is not all that complicated.
Do
when it comes
do
to
you
it.
have some thoughts on some dollar amounts from previous experience?
You know.
I'm putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just the first reading, right? We
Right.
can,
Right.
is that something we can,
If we were to add something like that in, that would substantially change the ordinance, so
Okay.
it would require a new first reading. Again, this isn't a rush at the
time sensitive matter?
Yeah, you know, at this point, we would, we would simply put it in place in 2020, so
Okay.
we've got some time to work with.
I would just assume, I don't wanna speak for you guys, but I would just assume we try and check all the boxes we can here to make sure it doesn't become something it wasn't intended to be. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
You guys, I mean, what are your thoughts?
No, that's fine. I know the Cemetery Association has a couple of people come and go over the books every year.
You don't give them one, do we? Cemeteries, okay.
Yeah, I don't know that we've given them, at least I haven't seen it this year, so. Yeah. But it's one of the many, and one of the other things I would point out that, we are pointing out in here that it has to be a nonprofit that's recognized by the IRS under section 501. You know, churches, for example, I can go to GuideStar and I would bet that some churches are not organized under the 501. I don't think I need to point out any in particular, but I think that's something that does happen from time to time, that somebody, you know, be organized as a nonprofit, as a corporation under the state, but that doesn't grant you that tax exempt status on the federal level, so. So we will go back, do some more research on this and come back with another draft.
Thank you. All right, I'll declare that the first reading, and then we'll move on to Premier Pyrotechnics Contract for Service. 4th of July, I take it.
Correct. Mayor, most recent contract for 4th of July license to blow stuff up in the city limits has expired. 2019 completed the first 3-year contract we had in place for pyrotechnical service from Premier Pyrotechnics. This new contract includes no price increase, provides for additional product of the process if the contract is executed and paid prior to December 2019. So the contract has been reviewed by the city attorney with no significant issues noted. We recommend a motion to accept the contract with Premier Pyrotechnics.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Jackson, seconded by Chad Wolf. Being as it's money being spent, we'll go through Jackson,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Brock,
Aye.
Chad Wolf.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Approve the contract. All right. Swimming pool change order number 3.
Thank you, Mayor. City has received a third contract change order from Carruthers Construction for the new swimming pool. As part of the amenities being purchased, we received a change order in the amount of $1,000. This allows Carruthers to install a sleeve for a future shade structure on the concrete bench placed in the zero entry section of the pool. The sleeve will be paid for from the funds currently being raised by Ms. Mauer. Recommend the motion to accept change order 3.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Chad, seconded by Billy. $1,000. I'll still go through roll. Jackson,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Chad Wolf,
Aye.
Brock.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Moving on to swimming pool pay app number 5.
Mayor and Council, this one's relatively straightforward. It's just progress payment for the pool project. The amount of this payment $395,175 as the balance is finished. This period, $346,187 is the amount of this pay application. I recommend a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Brock, seconded by Jackson. Once again, money. Chad Wolf.
Aye.
Billy.
Aye.
Brock.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Asphalt project pay application 1 and 2.
So we have two pay applications for the asphalt repair project. Metro Construction. First one being for $257,575.90. Second being $145,774.42. This is for work that's in place right now up to this date.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Jackson,
Second.
seconded by Chad. Discussion? Okay, start with Brock.
Aye.
Billy.
Aye.
Chad Wolf.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Pay application for 1 and 2, accepted. Now we move on to Central Basin 2, pay application number 4.
This is pay application number 4 with Winter Construction, amount of $376,753.92. Again, this is for work up to date. Any questions?
And we're still taking 10% retainage, correct?
There's 10% retainage on the project, yep, that's, you can see line item number 5 is $156,000 at this point.
So moved.
Motion by Jackson,
Second.
seconded by Billy. We'll go Brock,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Jackson,
Aye.
Chad Wolf.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Central Basin 2, change order number 2.
This is change order number 2, and this is basically the suspension of the project. You can see it's a $0 change order, and the comments there basically describe the, as of September 25th, there are 47 calendar days remaining on their current contract. Those days are being suspended in the next year with this change order.
So they will have 47 days to complete.
So 47 days before we can assess the damages against them. Correct.
So moved.
Second.
Brock and Chad. All right, any discussion? Go Chad,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Jackson,
Aye.
Brock.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. All right. Brings us to resolution, I believe.
Mayor and Council, this is resolution 2019-10-15-01. It's a resolution of support for Land and Water Conservation Fund grant. Council may remember last year they approved a similar resolution for a grant to the South Dakota Department of Game Fish and Parks for Land and Water Conservation Fund for the pool project. For a variety of some known and unknown reasons, we withdrew from that grant late last year. We are reapplying for that grant with this application, which includes a financial commitment. So, if I remember correctly, the project grant maximum was $75,000, which we would have to match. What we're planning to use this for is the yet uncompleted and yet not really designed swimming pool parking lot. There's a lot of moving pieces on this parking lot. I'll try and cover all of them. When we got our first site map for the pool, it was about 30 feet further north than it currently is as constructed. And looking into that, realized that that parking lot does not belong to the city, it belongs to the school district. The school district has graciously allowed us to use that parking lot for staging and materials and other things this summer. But it also is beaten up on that parking lot quite a bit. Now, we also had a meeting with Carruthers and the school district just a couple of weeks ago to talk about the condition of that parking lot. Carruthers has an obligation to restore it to its previous condition. But I think everybody would acknowledge that its previous condition was not exactly pristine. And so there's some there's some work to be done there on figuring out how we work that out. But we've all pledged to cooperate and figure out how to make that happen in a way that works for everyone. So we do know that regardless, that swimming pool parking lot needs to be done. We need a parking lot there for safety reasons, for accessibility reasons. One of the other things on the conceptual drawing that you'll see there, and Mitch can speak to this more than I can, is the inclusion of stormwater drainage in connection to storm sewer on Main Street. Help protect moisture from that parking lot.
And that's gonna cost us how much?
If it's received, maximum we'll have to match is $75,000.
We'll have to match 75,000.
Correct. In terms of where we would take that from, I would just assume pull it from sex spending if we had to. That does make our plans for next year difficult in terms of what streets we want to complete. But I think that we could probably find some wiggle room in there in terms of Carruthers' responsibility and the district's what its present condition was. So.
We're good with where the storm sewer is gonna go.
Yeah, you asked me,
Whoever.
yeah, we'll find it, I mean, it's not really late necessarily, but we'll find a spot for it.
Okay.
There's a storm sewer goes right by on Main Street, so it'd be easy to tie in.
Okay.
Connect to.
So moved.
Motion by Chad Wolf,
Second.
second by Jack Freed. Jackson,
Aye.
Rock,
Aye.
Billy,
Aye.
Chad.
Aye.
Motion carries 4-0. Brings us to, anything for executive session?
Mayor, I have one item for executive session, should take no longer than a couple of minutes. If we could adjourn to my office and discuss that, we'll be right back to the council chambers.
Motion to move to executive session.
Chad, second by
Second.
Rock. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign?
Thanks, sir.
We'll be in touch.
Me too, 'cause I'm kind of dead on day.
Sounds good. We'll come and see you next meeting.
Did you want people to show up for your, open house?
Was more than I there?
I know, we had talked about, I talked about with Wendy about going out there and doing a story or something, and she wasn't able to make it, I think it was on Wednesday.
Yes.
Yeah, so, but I think that's still a good idea, so something we can
Absolutely, anytime we
do
go.
sometime.
You have a slow afternoon or something, and
Yeah.
whatever, just say, hey, you got some time.
you did the, I played Sparks Center, and I see you work at the Matters Plus.
Does the dad still work at Larson?
What's that?
Does the dad still work at Larson?
I don't know if he's retired or not. He might be. I know his mom used to work at the driver's license bureau, but I don't see her for a while.
Motion to come out of executive session.
Second by Chad, second by Brock, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we are out.
Yeah. No,
I
Mayor,
usually-
do you want the mayor just to clear out?
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
usually happens.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
That's good.
I'll make a motion to accept the resignation of Mr. Dunkelberger.
Motion, second by Billy, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion accepted. All right, now. Motion to adjourn,
Move to adjourn.
Second.
second, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.
You don't know anybody that